Captain Lee Tae-ho stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, watching the last human fleet prepare for battle. Through the massive view screen, he could see thousands of alien ships moving toward Earth like a dark cloud. The Vorthak Empire had come to finish what they started. "Sir, enemy count is now at 50,000 ships," reported Lieutenant Commander Han Ji-woo from the weapons station. His voice was steady, but Tae-ho could see the fear in his old friend's eyes. They had served together for 10 years, and Ji-woo had never seen odds like this. Admiral Kim Woo-jin's face appeared on the communication screen. The old man looked tired, like he had aged 10 years in the past week. "Tae-ho, are you ready for the mission briefing?" "Yes, sir," Tae-ho replied. Around him, his crew worked at their stations. They all knew something big was coming, but only he and a few others knew the truth. "The Defiance will break through their lines and head straight for the Vorthak home system," Kim explained. "Your ship has the new quantum drive that Park So-min designed. It can get you there faster than anything they have." Chief Engineer Park So-min looked up from her console. She was young, maybe 28, but she was the smartest person Tae-ho had ever met. Her quantum drive was supposed to be the future of human space travel. Now it would be their last hope. "What's our target when we get there?" Tae-ho asked, though he already suspected the answer. "Their command fleet. If we can destroy their leaders, maybe their alliance will fall apart," Kim said. "But Tae-ho, you need to understand something. This is a one-way trip. We can't spare any ships to come get you." The bridge went quiet. Everyone heard those words. "Navigator." Oh Seung-hwan stopped what he was doing and looked at his captain. Medic Yoon Haerin put down her medical pad. Communications Officer Song Yoo-jin turned around in her chair. "Sir," Ji-woo said slowly, "are you saying we're not coming back?" Kim's face was serious. "The Earth fleet will make our last stand here. We'll hold them as long as we can, but we all know how this ends. The Defiance is our only chance to hurt them before it's over." Dr. Choi Young-soo, the ship's science officer, stepped forward. "Admiral, what about the civilian ships?" "The evacuation?" "There are no evacuation ships left, Doctor," Kim replied quietly. "They destroyed the last transport yesterday. Everyone who's still alive is here fighting." Tae-ho felt the weight of those words. His sister lived on Earth with her family. His parents were there too. In a few hours, they would all be gone and he would be flying away from them forever. "How long do we have?" Park So-min asked. "The attack begins in 3 hours, Kim said. "You need to leave in 2 hours to have any chance of breaking through their lines." Tae-ho looked at his crew. These people had followed him for years. They trusted him. Now he was asking them to die with him on a mission that might not even work. "I need to address the crew," he said. "Do what you need to do, Captain," Kim replied. "And Tae-ho, make it count." The screen went dark. Tae-ho walked to the center of the bridge and activated the ship-wide communication system. His voice would now reach all 400 crew members on the Defiance. "This is Captain Lee Tae-ho speaking to all hands," he began. "In 2 hours we will launch on a mission deep into enemy territory. Our target is the Vorthak command fleet in their home system. Our goal is to strike a blow that will be remembered long after we're gone." He paused, thinking about his next words carefully. "I won't lie to you. This is a one-way mission. Earth's fleet will make their stand here, and we will make ours in enemy space. Some of you have families down there, I do too. But if we succeed, their sacrifice will mean something." Park So-min was looking at her engineering displays, but Tae-ho could see tears in her eyes. Oh Seung-hwan was staring out at Earth, probably thinking about his wife and daughter. "Anyone who wants to transfer to another ship can do so now," Tae-ho continued. "I won't think less of anyone who chooses to stay and fight for Earth instead of coming with us." He waited for 10 minutes, but nobody left the bridge. Reports came in from all decks that no one was requesting transfer. 400 people had just chosen to follow him to their deaths. "Very well," Tae-ho said. "All departments prepare for departure. Engineering, start the quantum drive warm-up sequence. Weapons, load all missile tubes and charge the energy cannons. Navigation, plot our course to the Vorthak home system." The ship came alive with activity. Park So-min ran between her engineering stations, checking every system twice. The quantum drive was new technology, and this would be its first real test. Ji-woo worked with his weapons team to make sure every gun on the ship was ready. They would need to fight their way out of the solar system. "Captain," Song Yoo-jin called out, "I'm picking up emergency broadcasts from Earth. The cities they're being evacuated to underground shelters." "Keep monitoring," Tae-ho ordered. He didn't want to hear the details. He couldn't think about what was happening down there. Dr. Choi was at his science station, studying data about the Vorthak fleet. Sir, I've been analyzing their ship formations. They have 12 different species in their alliance, each with different technologies. If we can identify their command ships, good work, Doctor. Send all your data to the weapons station. 1 hour passed quickly. The Defiance was as ready as it would ever be. Park So-min reported that the quantum drive was running perfectly. All weapons were loaded and ready. The crew was at battle stations. Captain, Oh Sung-hwan said, the enemy fleet is beginning their attack run on Earth. Through the view screen, they could see flashes of light as the battle began. Human ships were small dots of light fighting against the massive alien fleet. Explosions bloomed like flowers in the darkness of space. It's time, Taeho said. All hands, this is the captain. We are beginning our mission. Remember, we carry the hopes of every human who ever lived. Make them proud. He sat down in his captain's chair and looked at his crew one last time. Helm, take us out. Maximum speed toward the enemy formation. The Defiance moved forward, accelerating toward the largest fleet ever assembled. Behind them, Earth fought its final battle. Ahead of them waited the unknown, and a chance to make their deaths mean something. The last human ship left the solar system, carrying 400 souls into the darkness between stars. 3 months had passed since the Defiance left Earth behind. Captain Lee Taeho walked through the quiet corridors of his ship, checking on his crew. The excitement of their escape had faded long ago, replaced by the heavy weight of isolation. They had broken through the Vorthak lines using the quantum drive's incredible speed. Park So-min's invention had worked perfectly, bending space around them like a bubble, but now they were deep in enemy territory, alone in the vast darkness between stars. Captain on deck called Sergeant Kang Dong-woo as Taeho entered the Marine barracks. The big soldier had been keeping his men busy with training exercises, but Taeho could see the stress in their faces. Fighting an enemy was one thing. Waiting in empty space was harder. How are the men holding up, Sergeant? Taeho asked. They're good, sir. Ready for whatever comes next, Kang replied. But his eyes told a different story. These were soldiers who needed a mission, not endless waiting. Taeho made his way to the medical bay where Dr. Yoon Hairin was running routine health checks on the crew. She looked up when he entered, her face tired but determined. Captain, I'm seeing some stress reactions among the crew, she reported quietly. Nothing serious yet, but people are starting to feel the isolation. We've been alone out here for 3 months with no word from home. What do you recommend? Taeho asked. Keep them busy. Give them hope. They need to believe this mission matters, she said. And sir, they need to know you're holding up too. Taeho nodded. He had been trying to stay strong for his crew, but the truth was that he felt the loneliness as much as anyone. Every night he wondered if Earth still existed, or if they were truly the last humans in the universe. He found Oh Sung-hwan on the bridge, staring at the navigation display. The young navigator had barely spoken to anyone in weeks. His wife and baby daughter had been on Earth when they left. Any sign of pursuit? Taeho asked. No, sir, Oh replied without looking up. We're still deep in the void between star systems. But Captain, I keep thinking about home. About weather, I know, Taeho said softly. We all do, but we have to focus on the mission. Communications Officer Song Yoo-jin turned from her station. Sir, I've been monitoring Vorthak communications. Their language is complex, but I'm starting to understand parts of it. They're talking about something called the cleansing. It sounds like they're not just conquering worlds, they're destroying entire species. Dr. Choi Young-soo looked up from his science station. That matches what we saw in their attack patterns. They don't just want to win, they want to erase us completely. The bridge crew fell silent. They had suspected this, but hearing it confirmed made their mission feel even more important. They weren't just carrying weapons. They were carrying the last memory of humanity. Sir, called Lieutenant Commander Han Ji-woo from the weapons station. I think you should see this. Park So-min found something strange in the quantum drive. Taeho followed Ji-woo down to the engineering section. Park So-min was standing in front of the quantum drive chamber, looking confused and excited at the same time. The massive engine hummed with energy, its blue light pulsing in patterns that seemed almost alive. Captain, look at these readings, she said, pointing to her displays. The quantum drive is acting strange. It's using more power than it should, but it's also generating energy from somewhere else. What does that mean? Taeho asked. I'm not sure yet, Park admitted, but it's like the drive is learning, adapting to our journey. The energy patterns are getting more complex every day. Dr. Choi examined the readings. These patterns, they almost look like neural activity, like brainwaves. That's impossible, Park said. It's just a machine. But as they watched, the quantum drive's blue light pulsed in what looked like a rhythm. Almost like breathing, almost like it was alive. Keep monitoring it, Taeho ordered, and let me know immediately if anything changes. As they left the engineering section, Ji-woo walked beside his captain. Sir, can I speak freely? Always. The crew is starting to ask questions about what happens when we reach the Vorthak home system. We all knew this was a one-way trip, but now that we're actually out here, they're scared, Taeho finished. Yes, sir. And honestly, so am I. We're 400 people against an entire empire. Even if we somehow destroy their command fleet, what then? We can't go home. We can't start over somewhere else. Taeho stopped walking and looked at his oldest friend. Then we make sure our deaths count for something. We carry more than just weapons, Ji-woo. We carry human culture, human art, human memories. If we're the last humans in the universe, then we have a responsibility. To do what? To show them that we existed, that we mattered, that we didn't go quietly into the darkness. They reached the ship's observation deck, where several crew members were looking out at the stars. The view was beautiful and terrible at the same time. Billions of stars stretched out in every direction, but none of them led home. Park So-min joined them, looking worried. Captain, there's something else about the quantum drive. I've been analyzing our journey data, and I don't think we're traveling through normal space anymore. What do you mean? Taeho asked. The quantum field is interacting with something out there, something we can't see with normal sensors. It's like we're moving through a layer of reality that exists between normal space. Dr. Choi's eyes lit up with scientific curiosity. Could that explain the energy readings? Maybe the drive is tapping into some kind of quantum field that connects all of space. Maybe, Park said. But if that's true, then we might not be as alone as we think. There could be things out there in the quantum field. Other ships, other intelligences. Song Yoo-jin's voice came over the communication system. Captain, please return to the bridge immediately. I'm picking up some kind of signal. They rushed back to the bridge. Song was working frantically at her station, trying to isolate the signal. It's not Vorthak, sir. It's something else entirely. The signal is coming from everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Can you decode it? Taeho asked. I'm trying, but it's unlike anything I've ever seen. It's not radio waves or quantum communications. It's something else. The signal grew stronger and suddenly the bridge lights flickered. The quantum drive's hum changed pitch, becoming almost musical. For a moment, Taeho could have sworn he heard voices in the sound. Whispers in languages he didn't recognize. Park, get down to engineering and check the drive, he ordered. Song, keep working on that signal. Everyone else, stay alert. As Park left the bridge, Taeho looked out at the stars and wondered what they had gotten themselves into. They had come out here to die fighting the Vorthak, but something else was waiting for them in the darkness between worlds. The Defiance continued its journey through the void, carrying its human crew toward an unknown destiny. Behind them, Earth was either dead or dying. Ahead of them, something ancient was beginning to stir. In the quantum realm that surrounded their ship, patterns of energy were awakening. Patterns that had been sleeping for millions of years, waiting for someone stubborn enough to refuse to accept the end of their story. The last human ship sailed on through the darkness, not knowing that they were about to discover they were not as alone as they thought. The alarm woke Captain Lee Taeho from a restless sleep. He had been dreaming about Earth again, about his sister's children playing in their garden. But the sharp sound of the emergency alert brought him back to reality. They were still alone, in enemy space, still flying toward an impossible mission. Captain, to the bridge, came Oh Seung-hwan's urgent voice over the communication system. We've found something. Taeho pulled on his uniform and ran through the corridors. The crew members he passed looked excited and nervous. After months of empty space, any discovery was big news. On the bridge, his officers were gathered around the main view screen. What Taeho saw there made him stop in his tracks. Floating in space ahead of them was a structure unlike anything he had ever seen. It was enormous, easily the size of a small moon. But it wasn't natural. The surface was covered with geometric patterns that hurt to look at directly. Lines of energy moved across its surface like veins of light. And it was old, so old that it made Taeho feel small just looking at it. What is it? He asked. Dr. Bei Minho, the ship's physicist, was studying his readings with wide eyes. I don't know, sir. It's not like any technology in our databases. The energy readings are off the charts, but they're stable. Whatever this thing is, it's been here for a very long time. How long? Tejo asked. Based on the quantum decay patterns. Millions of years, maybe tens of millions. Lieutenant Commander Han Jiwoo checked his weapons display. Should I arm our system, sir? Not yet, Tejo replied. Song, are you detecting any signals from it? Communications Officer Song Yujin shook her head. Nothing on normal frequencies. But the strange signal we've been picking up is getting stronger. I think it's coming from that structure. Park So-min's voice came over the communication system from engineering. Captain, the quantum drive is responding to whatever that thing is. The energy patterns are synchronizing with something. Dr. Choi Young-soo was running deep scans of the structure. Sir, I'm detecting hollow spaces inside. It's not solid. It's more like a complex machine. And there are what look like docking ports along the lower section. Docking ports? Tejo repeated. You mean it's designed for ships to land on it? That's what it looks like. But sir, the size of those ports, they're designed for ships much larger than ours. Whatever built this thing, they were big. Oh, Sheng Huan reported from his navigation station. Captain, we're being pulled toward it. Not by gravity, by some kind of energy field. Our engines are fighting it, but we're slowly drifting closer. Tejo made a decision that would change everything. Stop fighting it. Let it pull us in, but be ready to break away if things go wrong. Sir, are you sure? Jiwoo asked. We don't know what that thing is. We came out here to find the Vorthak command fleet, Tejo replied. But maybe we've found something more important. As the Defiance drifted toward the ancient structure, Song Yu-jin suddenly looked up from her station. Captain, I'm intercepting Vorthak communications. There's a fleet heading this way. How many ships? Tejo asked. At least 100. And sir, they're talking about this structure. They call it the Forbidden Place. They sound scared of it. Dr. Choi's eyes lit up with understanding. That's why they're coming. They detected us approaching this thing and they're trying to stop us. How long until they arrive? Tejo asked. 6 hours, Song replied. The Defiance settled into one of the docking ports with a soft thud. The structure's energy field seemed to recognize their ship, guiding them to a perfect landing. Lights came on around the docking area, casting strange shadows on the hull. Atmosphere readings are impossible, Dr. Bay reported. There's breathable air in the docking bay, not human air, but close enough. Temperature is comfortable. It's like this place is adapting to us. Sergeant Kang Dong-woo assembled his Marine squad while Dr. Yoon Hae-rin prepared medical equipment for the exploration team. Everyone knew they were about to step into something beyond human understanding. The exploration team consisted of Tejo, Dr. Choi, Dr. Bei, Sergeant Kang, and 4 Marines. They suited up in full environmental gear, even though the atmosphere seemed safe. The airlock opened with a hiss, and they stepped onto the surface of something that had been waiting in space since before humans discovered fire. The docking bay was vast, with a ceiling that disappeared into darkness above them. But as they walked forward, lights began to activate, following their movement. The walls were covered with symbols and patterns that seemed to shift when they weren't looking directly at them. These symbols, Dr. Choi whispered, they're not just decorative. They're some kind of language, and sir, some of them are starting to look familiar. Familiar how? Tejo asked. They're changing, adapting to show us symbols we might understand. Look there. That pattern almost looks like mathematical equations. They moved deeper into the structure, following corridors that led toward the center. The further they went, the more the place seemed to come alive around them. Walls hummed with energy. Floors showed them the way with lines of light. And always, there was the feeling that something was watching them. In the central chamber, they found it. A massive crystalline structure that pulsed with the same rhythm as the Defiance's quantum drive. Information flowed through it in streams of light, data beyond anything humans had ever created. It's a computer, Dr. Bay breathed. But not like any computer we've ever built. It's using quantum consciousness patterns. It's thinking. As they approached the crystal, images began to appear in the air around them. Star maps showing the galaxy as it was millions of years ago. Pictures of alien species they had never seen. And then something that made them all step backward in shock. The images showed the Vorthak Empire, but not as it was now. They showed its history, world after world being destroyed, species after species being wiped out completely. The Vorthak had been doing this for thousands of years, erasing entire civilizations from existence. They're not just conquerors, Dr. Choi said quietly. They're collectors. They destroy species to steal their knowledge, their technology, their culture. They've done this hundreds of times. More images appeared, showing what looked like digital ghosts, consciousness patterns of extinct species stored within quantum computers like this one. The ancient builders of this place had been trying to preserve the memory of destroyed civilizations. Song Yujin's voice crackled through their communicators. Captain, the Vorthak fleet is getting closer. 4 hours now. And sir, they're not just coming to destroy us. They're coming to destroy that structure too. Taeho understood. The Vorthak were afraid of this place because it held the memories of their victims. It was proof of their crimes and evidence that the species they had destroyed might not be completely gone. Dr. Bay, can you interface with this system? Taeho asked. I think so. The quantum patterns are similar to our own technology. But sir, if I connect our ship's computer to this thing. Do it, Taeho ordered. If we're going to die here, let's make sure our story gets added to theirs. Back on the Defiance, Park So-min worked frantically to establish a connection between their quantum drive and the ancient computer. As the link formed, the ship's systems flooded with new information. Star charts showing hidden worlds where survivors of destroyed species still lived. Technical data that was millions of years advanced. And something else, something that made the quantum drive sing with new purpose. The ancient structure wasn't just a computer. It was a gateway. A way to connect consciousness across the galaxy, to give digital souls physical form, to turn memory into reality. Captain, Park's excited voice came through the communicator. You need to get back here right now. This thing, it's offering to help us. But the Vorthak fleet will be here in 3 hours, and they have weapons that can destroy this entire structure. Taeho looked at the crystal one more time. In its depths, he could see the faces of countless extinct species, all waiting for someone to give them a chance to live again. We came here to strike one blow against the Vorthak, he said to his team. But maybe we found a way to strike back for everyone they've ever destroyed. The exploration team ran back to their ship, carrying data that would change everything. Behind them, the ancient structure began to wake up fully for the first time in millions of years. And somewhere in the quantum realm that connected all consciousness, the digital ghosts of 1,000 dead civilizations began to stir. The Defiance shook as Park So-min completed the connection between their quantum drive and the ancient structure. Captain Lee Taeho felt the vibration through the deck plates, but it wasn't the usual mechanical shudder of ship systems. This felt different. Alive. Park, report, he called through the communication system as he ran toward engineering. Sir, the quantum drive is changing, came her excited but worried voice. The ancient computer is downloading something into our systems. A lot of something. When Taeho reached the engineering deck, he found Park and her assistant Lim Jae-sung staring at displays filled with data streams unlike anything they had ever seen. The quantum drive chamber was glowing brighter than ever, its blue light now mixed with silver patterns that moved like living things. What's it downloading? Taeho asked. Consciousness patterns, Dr. Bae Minho replied from his station. Millions of them. The storage capacity shouldn't be possible, but our quantum drive is somehow expanding to hold them all. Lim Jae-sung looked up from his console, his face pale. Captain, something is trying to communicate with us. Through the ship's computer. As if responding to his words, the lights on the engineering deck flickered in a pattern. Then the speakers crackled to life, but what came out wasn't a single voice. It was many voices speaking in different languages, overlapping and blending together. We remember, the voices said, some speaking human words, others making sounds no human throat could produce. We are the forgotten. Park stepped back from her console. The consciousness patterns are combining. They're forming some kind of collective intelligence. Are they dangerous? Taeho asked. I don't think so, Lim replied. Sir, I think they're trying to help us. They know about the Vorthak. They remember being destroyed by them. The voices spoke again, clearer this time. We are Echo. We carry the memories of the lost. Human vessel, we know your pain. We know your anger. We have felt it for millions of years. Dr. Choi Young-soo's voice came through the communication system from the bridge. Captain, you need to see this. The Vorthak fleet has arrived. Taeho ran back to the bridge where the main view screen showed a terrifying sight. 100 Vorthak warships had emerged from faster-than-light travel and were forming an attack formation around the ancient structure. At their head was a massive dreadnought that dwarfed even the ancient gateway. That's the flagship of General Vex, Song Yujin reported from her communication station. I'm intercepting their transmissions. They're calling this the final cleansing. They want to destroy both us and the structure. Lieutenant Commander Han Ji-woo checked his weapons display. Sir, we can't fight that many ships. Even with the structure's defenses, we're outnumbered 100 to 1. The voice of Echo spoke through the ship's speakers again. Do not fear, humans. You have given us a gift we thought lost forever, the chance to fight back. But we need your permission to use your ship's systems. What do you want to do? Taeho asked. We want to give form to memory, to make the dead live again if only for a moment. Your quantum drive can bridge the gap between consciousness and matter, but the process will change your ship forever. On the view screen, the Vorthak fleet began to advance. General Vex's flagship was the size of a small city, bristling with weapons that could crack planets. Behind it came ships from a dozen different alien species, all united in their desire to destroy anything that might remember their victims. Sir, Oh Sung-hwan called from navigation, they're jamming our quantum drive. We can't escape even if we wanted to. Taeho made his decision. Echo, you have our permission. Do whatever you need to do. The ship trembled as Echo took control of their systems. The quantum drive's energy output increased beyond anything the engineers had thought possible. Throughout the ship, matter replicators began working at impossible speeds, creating forms guided by consciousness patterns millions of years old. In the cargo bays, shapes began to materialize. Not quite solid, not quite energy, but something in between. The digital ghosts of extinct species were taking physical form for the first time since their deaths. Park's voice was filled with wonder as she reported from engineering. Captain, the replicators are creating bodies based on quantum consciousness patterns. They're using our ship's matter reserves, but also pulling energy directly from space itself. How many? Taeho asked. Thousands? Maybe tens of thousands. Sir, our ship is becoming something else. A resurrection chamber for the galaxy's lost species. The first of the reborn stepped onto the bridge. It was tall and thin with silver skin and 4 arms. Its eyes held the wisdom of ages and the anger of the unjustly killed. When it spoke, its voice harmonized with Echo's collective whisper. I am Keeper Zahn of the Valorian people, it said. We were destroyed by the Vorthak 3,000 years ago. We have waited so long for this moment. More beings appeared throughout the ship. Some were recognizable as carbon-based life forms. Others were beings of living crystal or energy-given form, or shapes that human eyes couldn't properly process. All of them carried the same expression of determination and rage. General Vex's voice boomed across the communication channels. Human vessel, you have awakened things that should stay dead. Surrender now, and we will grant you a quick death. Taeho activated the ship's communication system. General Vex, this is Captain Lee Taeho of the human vessel Defiance. We decline your generous offer. Then you will die with the rest of the abominations, Vex replied. All ships open fire. The Vorthak fleet unleashed hell. Energy beams and plasma torpedoes filled space around the ancient structure. But as the weapons struck, something impossible happened. The attacks passed right through the Defiance without causing damage. We are protected, Echo explained. The quantum field that gives us form also shields us from their weapons. But this protection will not last long. We must strike while we can. Keeper Zahn touched the ship's weapon controls and the Defiance's guns came alive with new purpose. But instead of firing normal energy beams, they projected streams of quantum consciousness, the concentrated rage and memory of 1,000 extinct species. Where these beams struck Vorthak ships, they didn't just destroy metal and machinery. They made the enemy crews remember their victims. They forced the Vorthak to experience the final moments of every species they had destroyed. Several enemy ships simply stopped fighting, their crews overwhelmed by the weight of their ancestors' crimes. Others turned their weapons on each other as different factions of the Alliance began to blame each other for their past actions. But General Vex's flagship kept coming. It was huge and heavily armored, and its crew was fanatically loyal. Vex himself appeared on the communication screen, his reptilian face twisted with rage. "You think you can break us with guilt?" he snarled. "We are proud of what we have done. Every species we destroyed was weak. They deserve to die." "Then let them tell you that themselves," Tejo replied. Echo's voice filled the space around both fleets, carrying the words of the extinct. "We were the Shari, who created beautiful music with our crystal bodies. You silenced our songs forever. We were the Keth who built cities that touched the stars. You turned them to ash. We were the Nal who spoke with our minds across the galaxy. You made us scream in silence." On and on the voices went, each one naming a lost species, each one demanding justice. The sound of it drove some Vorthak crews mad with terror, but it also awakened something else. Other ships in the fleet, crews of species that had been conquered but not destroyed, began to remember who they were before they served the Empire. Captain Zeth of the Corvin assault cruiser Thunderstrike was the first to switch sides. His ship turned its weapons on the Vorthak flagship, and his voice joined the growing rebellion. "For my people who you forced to serve you, for my children who you took as hostages, this ends now." The Vorthak fleet began to tear itself apart as enslaved species remembered their freedom. But General Vex's flagship was still advancing, and its weapons were finally beginning to pierce the quantum shield around the Defiance. "Our protection is failing," Echo reported. "The resurrection process has used too much energy. We can give you one last gift, but it will require sacrifice." "What kind of sacrifice?" Tejo asked. "Your ship must become a permanent bridge between the living and the dead. Your crew will join us in the quantum realm, but your consciousness will live forever, helping other species avoid the fate we all suffered." Tejo looked around his bridge at the faces of his crew. Oshunghua nodded sadly, thinking of his family. Shiwu smiled grimly, his hand on his weapon controls. Song Yu-jin and Dr. Choi both looked determined. "We came here to die for something that mattered," Tejo said. "This matters more than we ever imagined." The Defiance began to glow with the light of quantum transformation. Around them, the ancient structure prepared to make its own sacrifice, ready to give its stored energy to create something new, something that would ensure that no species would ever truly die again. The Defiance glowed like a star as the quantum transformation reached its peak. Captain Lee Tejo felt the change beginning in his own body as Echo's collective consciousness flowed through the ship's systems. Around him, his crew was experiencing the same thing, becoming something more than human but still themselves. "Beginning final phase," Echo announced through every speaker on the ship. "Resurrection protocol is now active." Park So-min watched her engineering displays with fascination instead of fear. The quantum drive was no longer just an engine. It had become a heart-pumping life force throughout the ship. "Captain, we're not dying," she reported with wonder in her voice. "We're evolving." On the bridge, the view screen showed General Vex's flagship getting closer, its massive guns charging for a final killing shot. But between the Vorthak dreadnought and the Defiance, space itself was beginning to change. Figures of light were materializing, thousands of them, each one representing a species that had been lost to Vorthak. Aggression. Dr. Choi Young-soo felt his consciousness expanding as he connected with Echo. Suddenly he could sense the thoughts and memories of beings from across the galaxy. "Sir, I can see them all. Every species the Vorthak destroyed. They're not gone. They've been waiting." Lieutenant Commander Han Ji-woo's hands moved over his weapon controls with new purpose. But now he wasn't just targeting enemy ships. He was coordinating with the consciousness patterns of extinct warrior species who had been fighting the Vorthak for millennia. "Weapons ready, Captain. And we've got backup." The space around the Defiance filled with impossible sights. Crystalline ships that had been destroyed centuries ago materialized with crews of living light. Massive biomechanical vessels that had once carried entire civilizations took form, their hull structures grown from consciousness itself. Energy beings that had been scattered to quantum particles reformed into battle fleets of pure thought. General Vex's voice crackled with rage and disbelief. "This is impossible. The dead cannot return. We destroyed you all completely." "You destroyed our bodies," came the reply from 1,000 voices speaking as one. "But consciousness is more than flesh and metal. Memory is stronger than death. And anger is eternal." The resurrected fleets moved to engage the Vorthak forces. But this wasn't just a battle between ships. It was a war between the living and the digital souls of the dead, fought with weapons made of pure will and hatred older than human civilization. Oh Seung-hwan found that he could navigate not just through normal space, but through the quantum realm where consciousness lived. Captain, I can see pathways through dimensions. We can strike at the Vorthak from directions they never imagined. Song Yu-jin was no longer just monitoring communications. She was channeling the voices of extinct civilizations, turning their final messages into weapons that struck at the hearts and minds of their enemies. Every species has something to say to their killers, she reported grimly. The battle raged across multiple dimensions as the Defiance led its army of digital ghosts against the Vorthak fleet. Ships phased in and out of reality, striking from angles that didn't exist in normal space. Consciousness itself became a weapon, forcing enemy crews to experience the pain of their victims. Captain Zeth's rebel ships joined the fight, but even his experienced crew was amazed by what they saw. It's like watching myths come to life, he reported to Taeho. The Valorians are flying again. The crystal singers of Sherry are making their music into a weapon. I thought I would never see such things. Dr. Bae Minho felt his scientific mind expanding as he connected with the knowledge of 1,000 extinct civilizations. Captain, I understand now. The ancient structure wasn't just a computer, it was a nursery, a place where consciousness could grow and develop after death, and now our ship has become the same thing. But General Vex's flagship was still advancing, and its weapons were designed specifically to destroy quantum consciousness patterns. Each shot scattered some of the resurrected beings back into digital fragments. The general himself appeared on the communication screen, his reptilian features twisted with fanatic determination. Even if you destroy my fleet, there are 1,000 more where this came from, he snarled. The Vorthak Empire spans half the galaxy. You cannot bring back everyone we have killed. We don't have to bring back everyone, Taeho replied, feeling Echo's wisdom flowing through his words. We just have to prove that death is not the end. That memory survives, that the victims of genocide can find justice. The Defiance moved toward the enemy flagship, its hull now more energy than matter. Around it, the consciousness patterns of extinct species formed a protective barrier. The ship had become something unprecedented, a living bridge between life and death, between the physical and the digital. Sergeant Kang Dong-woo led his Marines in a boarding action unlike any in history. They moved through quantum space directly onto the enemy flagship, their forms shifting between solid matter and pure consciousness. The Vorthak soldiers they faced were powerful and well-armed, but they were fighting beings who had already died once and refused to stay dead. Dr. Yoon Haerin found that her medical knowledge had expanded to include the consciousness patterns of healers from a dozen extinct species. She could now repair damage to digital souls as well as physical bodies. Captain, the wounded spirits are returning to the fight. Death isn't stopping them anymore. Lim Jae-sung worked with Park to maintain the ship's new quantum systems. The energy patterns are stabilizing, he reported. We're not just channeling the dead anymore. We're becoming a permanent gateway for consciousness to cross between dimensions. Inside General Vex's flagship, the boarding party fought their way toward the command center. But this wasn't just a battle for control of a ship. It was a fight for the soul of the Vorthak Empire itself. Every Vorthak soldier they faced was forced to confront the memories of their victims. Some of the enemy broke down completely, overwhelmed by guilt for crimes they had committed or supported. Others fought with desperate fury, trying to silence the voices of the dead that now whispered in their minds. But a few, just a few, began to understand what they had really been doing all these years. Commander Thys, General Vex's second-in-command, stopped fighting when she saw the spirit of a Valorian child standing before her. The child spoke in a voice filled with infinite sadness. I was going to be an artist. I painted pictures of stars. You burned them all. Thys dropped her weapon and fell to her knees. I remember giving the order. Your world was so beautiful. We destroyed it anyway. Why? The child asked. Because we were told it was necessary. Because we believed we were superior. Because we stopped seeing you as people. Thys looked up at the Marines surrounding her. I want to surrender. I want to help stop this. The battle reached its climax when Taeho and his team reached the command center. General Vex stood alone among his command crew, many of whom had already surrendered or fled. The massive reptilian held an energy weapon, but his hands were shaking. "Stay back," he warned. "I have a quantum disruptor. I can scatter all your digital souls back into nothingness." "Then do it," Tejo said calmly. "But first, let them speak to you." The bridge filled with the spirits of the extinct, thousands of beings all looking at the general who had ordered their destruction. They didn't attack or threaten. They just stood there waiting. "I gave you mercy," Vex said desperately. "I made your deaths quick. I could have made you suffer." "You made our children watch," replied the spirit of a Keth scientist. "You broadcast our cities burning as a warning to others. You turned our deaths into entertainment. I was following orders, keeping the galaxy safe from chaos." "You were committing genocide," said the Valorian keeper, "and you enjoyed it." General Vex raised his weapon but then stopped. Among the spirits surrounding him he saw faces he recognized, not his victims but his own people, Vorthak soldiers who had died in the wars of conquest, their consciousness patterns preserved by the quantum effects of their deaths. "Vex," said the spirit of his own brother, "killed in a battle decades ago. Look what we became. Look what our people became. This isn't strength, it's madness." The general's weapon fell from his hands. For the first time in his life, he truly saw what the Vorthak Empire had done, not just conquest, but the systematic murder of entire civilizations. Billions of sentient beings destroyed not for security or resources, but simply because they were different. "What have we done?" he whispered. The battle was over. The Vorthak fleet surrendered, many of its crews joining the rebellion that Captain Zeth had started. But the victory felt hollow to Tejo. They had won this fight, but the Empire still existed. There were still countless worlds under Vorthak control, still millions of beings living as slaves. "This is only the beginning," Echo said through the ship's speakers. "The resurrection protocol is now complete. Your ship has become a mobile gateway between life and death. Wherever you go, the voices of the extinct will follow. Wherever genocide happens, the dead will rise to fight back." Tejo looked around his transformed bridge. His crew was still there, but they were more than human now. They carried the memories and wisdom of 1,000 extinct species. They had become guardians of consciousness itself. "Where do we go now?" Oh, Sung-Hwan asked.